the NES was aging, several companies did their best to create a completely unique experience that was unlike anything else the system had ever seen. One of these was SNK, future creators of the Neo Geo arcade platform, which released Crystalis in 1990. As an action role-playing title, the game combined several factors that made previous titles like The Legend of Zelda and Final Fantasy successful, but it also embodied its own distinct flavor at the same time. Story-wise, the male lead protagonist, whose default name is SNK, is a scientist, along with the female accomplice Messia. In the midst of a widespread apocalyptic war, the two were cryogenically frozen, intending to be released only when Tower, a floating structure, was activated. Tower is used to prevent future cataclysmic events, but Emperor Dragon seeks to enter it and take control of its power. To stop him, SNK and Messia unite in a quest. And hey, this was an NES game where the box looked super cool. It had a great logo and was definitely representative of the type of game it was, which I can't quite say about some other titles. Unlike The Legend of Zelda, Willow, and some other games, Crystalis incorporates an RPG-based leveling system that involves gaining experience. After defeating enough enemies, you'll progress to new levels, increasing your health, damage, magic, and attack power. This represented a fusion of characteristics that incentivized the player to keep playing, and gave the impression of a true power advancement system. Like the Guardian Legend and Zoda's Revenge, Crystalis uses 8 cardinal directions so you can move diagonally. There are 8 different types of magic that can be used as well, and each spell is acquired from wise men found throughout the game. You can also charge your sword strike so that it shoots a projectile not unlike in The Legend of Zelda. There's a battery so you can save your progress, and even though it's a bit unclear about where to go at times, there are NPCs that provide clues. This really is a true action RPG hybrid. One of the most noteworthy aspects of Crystalis is the item and inventory system. In addition to the sword attack button, another button allows you to use a pre-selected spell or special item. The select button opens the inventory screen, and the start button opens the status screen. The inventory screen allows you to select from the items you've collected, whereas the status screen allows you to view your stats and change your armor. This acts similarly to The Legend of Zelda. Unlike that game though, Crystalis doesn't focus as much on puzzle solving, and favors combat instead. There are also several different armors and shields, which makes equipment management a real factor of consideration. Throughout the game, there are 5 different swords to be found, 4 of which are elemental oriented. The most brilliant part of this design decision was that each of the swords were more or less effective than the others in certain situations. For instance, using each elemental sword allows you to circumvent specific hurdles, such as in the case of using the Sword of Water to create an ice bridge to cross rivers. The swords can also be used to bypass the elemental immunities of specific enemies. Without a doubt, this was an innovative mechanism that disrupted the monotony of weapon use in similar games. The 5th sword, Crystalis, is crafted in the final dungeon through the combination of all 4 elemental swords. Another noticeable aspect of Crystalis pertains to the bosses. It's a little bit odd that some of them are huge in size, but others are small, but they all use unique attacks that you have to adapt to in order to overcome. When it comes down to it, they definitely stick out compared to similar games. I mean, just look at this bug-like guy and its wicked poison attacks. The end boss is a freaky powerhouse too, but I won't reveal footage of him here in the case you haven't played the game yet. For an NES game, I think the soundtrack of Crystalis excels as well. The game did a pretty good job of providing a variety of epic tunes, each of which seems to work well in how they're used. For instance, the town theme seemed to give the perfect impression of a friendly area, where one could buy items or talk to villagers. On the other hand, One Hope conceptualizes an epic journey, and sounds like a marching theme of sorts. Interestingly enough, Crystalis was released on the Game Boy Color in 2000, but had several storyline and gameplay differences that really aren't worth covering here. If you're choosing which to play now, I think the original NES version is best. Believe it or not, SNK also began to develop a sequel to the game for the Neo Geo in 1993. In an issue of Game Fan, they teased that the game would be over 100 megabytes, and it was set to be released in the summer the same year. There were several other articles hyping the title, but neither the game nor any of its details ever materialized. This was truly unfortunate, because the Neo Geo, which emphasized arcade-oriented fighter and shooter games, could really have used an action RPG. The Crystalis franchise has since gone by the wayside, leaving its most devoted fans hanging. Either way, Crystalis was definitely one of those NES games that was way ahead of its time. Like Zelda and Metroid before it, the title incorporated open-world exploration in a way that gave the player the impression they were in a huge world. Also, its inventory system was great, and involved more complexity than most games before it. I think it's one of the overall best hidden gems on the NES, a true one-of-a-kind game that is still worth picking up and playing today. If you like this review and remember Crystalis, leave a comment below about the most memorable aspect of the game to you. If you like my videos, please subscribe to my channel and click the bell below to be alerted upon the addition of new ones. Also, please consider supporting my channel via YouTube's Join feature to receive member exclusives, such as advanced videos and complete video transcripts.